All righty, here we are. Good morning or good afternoon, Grace. Thank you for joining me. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
I'm great. I'm good. I am working away, which seems fine because it seems rather cloudy outside. And when it's nice out, I'm always compelled to want to be outside. So thank you for joining me. And I know today we're going to talk about like really specifically how to not just get started with college essay planning, but get started writing. And so we're going to I have 5 tips, which I think we'll share in like a freebie for people later. But I think today we're going to have time for like 3 specific tips on how students can start their college admissions essays, like literally start them. And the benefit of having Grace on today is that you're going to give us your, creative perspective, strategy. It's like you can easily Google like how to get started with your college essays, but I thought where you would add incredible value is like really what works. So what I thought would be fun is like I'll throw out one of these strategies and then would love to get your opinion, any additional information you have. And before we get started, will you please introduce yourself to our audience? And a lot of the people who watch these lives will watch this on the replay. So basically, who are you and why are you qualified, Grace, to share writing tips?
Well, so my name is Grace Gilrain, and I just finished my first year of college. And I actually went through the Total Writing Enrichment College essay writing process. And it was, I know firsthand. I'm not too far removed from the whole process. I know how intimidating it is, and it's a marathon, not a sprint. And I also, I am a writer myself. I have been publishing little things on my blog for years, and then I actually independently published my first book, All the President's Men, through Amazon.com last December. So,
Totally awesome. Yes. Great. Awesome. Okay. So, and again, I always find it so fascinating, Grace, that you are a published author and yet, well, you're not only a published author, which is huge. Writing is one of your favorite. I often ask students, what comes easy for you? Like when I'm getting to know them. And especially creative writing is one of just the academic skills that you're just naturally gifted at. Yet you still wanted to seek out help for the college admissions essay. So I think that's fascinating. And I think it goes along the lines of we learn more and more about a specific skill or discipline, and we realize how much we still have to learn, right? So I love that you sought out the Total Writing College essay help, even though you are gifted in writing yourself. So today we're going to talk about, Grace, I have a lot of students who they've gotten over the mountain for college essay writing of they have a great topic. We've talked about it. They've talked to their parents and they have a great topic. They even have details. They have examples. But here's what they're stuck with. They just don't know how to get started. So here's a quick story, and then I'll share with you like tip number 1, and I want to hear what you have to say about it. So I have a student who literally sent me a rough draft. So excited. Like, Ms. Haskell, I have 400 words. And in parentheses, the first sentence says, need an intriguing attention grabber, need help here. And then it's a wonderful essay. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. But then I got another essay like that. And then on a one-on-one tutoring call, I had a student say, Ms. Haskell, I just literally don't know how to start that. So what we wanted to do today, parents, is I have actually 5 tips. We're going to share 3 because it's going to be short and sweet today. And then later this week, we're going to post on Instagram so you can grab this whole freebie, these 5 tips that Grace and I have. So this is how to not just start thinking about your topic, not start thinking about your strategy for college essays, but like literally when you're sitting down to write. So here's tip number 1. I'm going to throw it out there and then I'll type it and I'd love to get your opinion. So tip number 1 says to start with a vivid description. So parents out there, if you're going to share this with your students, you're thinking of your topic. So start with a vivid description. And, the idea is to paint a scenario, paint a picture in your readers, the college's mind, so that they can really picture you or the scene you're describing. I mean, do you agree with this? What would you add to this? Can you think of a specific example?
That's definitely a great, I think what you were saying about, you can write these books and then you have to have help for college essays. Each different type of writing is different, and that, extends itself to the college essay. And so for kids who are telling sort of a narrative story throughout their essay, that's huge, being able to drop the reader right into the exact moment of where they need to be as this thing is happening, as this event is unfolding. Like, are you running out onto the field for your first football game? Is your heart beating out of your chest? Like, use your senses. What can you see? Who's around you? What can you hear? What are you thinking? And are you going out on stage for, are you performing in the Nutcracker? What song is playing? Really, the more vivid details you can capture, the more engaged and hooked on the story that your reader will become, and the more invested in who they're going to be.
Right. Now, I will add, yeah, absolutely. So it's like, start with a vivid description. And of course, the coaching we give, it's like, okay, that sounds great. But students are like, okay, Ms. Haskell, how do I start with a vivid description? And I love what you said. And this is a writer's trick that, of course, naturally rolled off your author's tongue is sensory detail. I mean, Grace, that is like, I remember teaching sensory detail when I was teaching English at New Trier High School. That's a whole like class period, if not two, like learn about it, read it, and then you try it. So it's really using the senses. Yeah. I want to hop onto tip 2, but the big caveat, like the big warning with starting off with this tip number 1, using a vivid description is this. A lot of times students will create this description like the weather or what the house looked like, or, something sad, like a sick family member. And they get so into the details, and I'll like circle it or comment like relevancy. So it's that fine line. Yeah. And I think that's where
for what you're doing, it has to be necessary and also effective.
Necessary,
not
and effective.
Just
yeah.
To listen to.
Right. And I think that step 1 is for a student to just try it, like get out of spinning in your head, write that description. And then that's where the coaching comes in with like, you really don't need to talk about like the white puffy clouds, or, you've talked a lot about this other person. Now you need to bring it back to you. So, okay. So you agree with tip number 1, start with a vivid description. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So tip number 2, I'm interested to hear what you say with this, is in the research I did and in teaching this college admissions essay, it's to start with a thought-provoking question to start with. So here is an example, like, it's like a compelling question that somehow connects to your topic. So something like, what if the decisions we regret the most are the ones that shape us into who we're meant to become? So something like, that is going to connect. What do you think about starting your college essay with a question?
It's funny. I can hear like Carrie Bradshaw in my head in all of her different columns being like, and I started to wonder. I think it is a good way to give a preview to what you're going to be talking about, give them a little taste without fully revealing every detail about your essay.
So tip number 2, starting with a question. Do you agree with it? You like that?
Yeah, I think if it works for you, then it works for you. Like, and you can get super creative with it too. I think that's the really funny thing about it. Like, I'm trying to think of like an example that of what you could start with.
Well, I mean, just what I said right now. I mean, what do you think about this? Like, again, what if the decisions we regret in life? So literally picture someone starting their college admissions essay like this. What if the decisions we regret in life are actually the ones that shape us the most? And then
Right.
you could even go on. What if the decisions, that we regret the most in life teach us the greatest life lessons? That's compelling.
Those are good bookends too. If
Those
you
are
want to
great
start with,
bookends too. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's a cool concept to explore because you can have, there's a lot of room to play with it. You can go super insightful like that, or you can ask like, you know, do you remember exactly where you were sitting when your life changed, like something,
Yeah, right. And then you lead the college, the reader, to think about, okay, so the student's going to share with perhaps some decisions that led to regret, but also now looking back on it led to life lessons. Those lessons shape the whole rest of your essay. And then when you're saying bookends, you could tie it all up together. You could end with revisiting those questions, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's tip number 3, and I'm really interested in your thoughts for this and how this could work. And I think this might be one of the most challenging ones. And then if we have time, remind me the caveat for tip number 2 with those questions. So share like a startling fact or statistic. So like this is literally, so parents, we're literally talking about ways that your son or daughter can start their college essays. So capture your reader's attention, so the colleges, by presenting, perhaps a fact that they didn't know, or a startling statistic that's connected to the main essay topic. And I'm trying to think of ideas. One I have is like something like, do you know that more than 70% of people suffer from imposter syndrome? Right? Am I good enough to do this? Or what if they find out about my weaknesses? That's a startling statistic. And then it's interesting. Then the real thinking is what? Connecting it to your topic, right? What do you think about that as far as starting? Like with the start, you didn't do that at all with your opening line. Can you imagine, how would you have started? Actually, I can think of ideas knowing your essay.
Yeah. For mine, I could have said there are, to my knowledge, there are 3 people in the world who have written a book called The President's Daughter. One of them is, world-renowned New York Times bestselling author, 10 times over, James Patterson. The other one is former President of the United States, Bill Clinton. And the third is me.
So how would, wait, hang on, but how would you turn that around? What was your question?
I don't know if there would be a question for that, but it would be more of a statistic, I guess.
Oh, right. Yeah. I think that's really interesting. What would you say if a student said, like, did you know that more than 70% of people in the United States suffer from imposter syndrome? Where would they go from that then?
I think you could definitely, I'd be like, really, 70? I think it's about 99. You can give a specific example of, this is an instance when I felt imposter syndrome. This is how I overcame it by using X, Y, and Z traits. And I showed resilience and strength and this, that, and the other. And I think as far as picking a statistic, nothing catches people's attention quite like something a little bit dramatic. So, if you have a good attention grabber like that, use it to your advantage.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think that this is really great. I think that these 3, let's look over, and again, I do have 5 of them, but start with a vivid description in your college essay. And I've been talking a lot about that, I feel like, with students, like, start in the action. Start with when you looked up at the currently posted roster and your name wasn't on there. Right? And then where do you go from that? Is it going to be a flashback, or is it going to be, you thought you were broken, but little did you know at that moment you would experience the greatest growth, the greatest maturity, the greatest finding the silver lining, right? So start with a vivid description, right? Number 2, start with a thought-provoking question or 2. And I said I was going to share my like warning about that. And then number 3, start with the startling statistic. And then I love the way, like you said, then lead into how that connects to your topic.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's what I wanted to warn, and I just wanted to warn parents about. It's the tip number 2. I feel like a lot of times if a student starts off with a question, to be wary of like a yes or no question. Because what if you're like, did you know there are 3 people who have started who have named their book this book title? Or did you know that most people in the United States suffer from imposter syndrome? What if the writer is like, yeah, I knew that. Like, or just like, no. So it's almost like it's a craft if you're going to start with a thought-provoking question or 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a real art. And I feel like it's the easiest one. And a lot of students do it. And it's just kind of like this listless. It's not really fulfilling the goal to really capture the college's attention.
Yeah, I think for when you pick a question, because I feel like I've been taught to do that in English class too. Like it's a strong way to start an essay. And so this isn't any old essay. And so if you're going to pick a question, really challenge yourself, I'd say, to think outside of the box and, make it as hyper specific to your topic as you can. Like I don't know. I'm trying to think of some things from my own life of like that I can use.
What did you just say? That was so cool. I love that. This isn't any old essay. I mean, that's great.
No.
Wait, what did you say? Make these techniques as hyper specific. Yeah, is that what you said?
Yeah. I love that. Don't just. There's however many kids that could say, did you know that my high school won the state championship 4 years in a row? Like there's 50 states, there could be 50 high schools that could say that, but what is about your story specifically that makes that significant to you?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And again, I mean, just to remind people, and I think that it's one thing to have your topic. And again, we have students and the biggest concern is, what should I write about? What do the colleges want to hear? That we've done free workshops on that. I had a fabulous masterclass on that last Monday. We'll continue to do another one. This right now is for students who do have their topics, who actually have sent us drafts, but they're literally like, Ms. Haskell, I really want to be able to wow the colleges with that opening line. So we're going through 3 techniques here, and it takes work. I think these are great though. And I love your insight so much, Grace. I love this isn't any old essay, but it's so fascinating to me what you just said, that the starting with questions is what you do learn in English class. And even way back when I was teaching in the classroom, I would say, wait a minute. If you're going to start your personal narrative essay or even a lit analysis essay with the technique of questions, you have to be really careful. They have to be really good. They have to connect to your topic, and they can't be yes or no questions. So I think that's super important. I think it's the easiest out. I've literally said to students, like, this is really 7th grade. Like, I feel like this is really, have you heard? Yeah. So as far as these tips go, I think these are fabulous. And what we're going to do is later on this week, we're going to send a post. And if you're interested, parents who are watching this now, we've gone through 3 specific tips on literally how your kids, like the opening line or 2 for their college admissions essays, right? This is assuming they have a great topic they're happy with. And if they're not, reach out to us. We have a ton of techniques on that. And then we're going to post like the top 5 later. Is there anything else, Grace? We have like 1 minute left. This has really been fabulous. Is there anything else that like encouragement or support, or just, I always say there's no good writing. There's only great rewriting. So from a published author's point of view, what one last golden nugget could you add today to help our viewers?
Well, I mean, from an author's perspective, I almost think about it in terms of the way that I write my chapters. I try to end everything on a really like banger closing line, like something that somebody would say in a TV show right before the like theme music plays at the end of the loop. And that's just how I do things. But also,
So
like,
wait,
it
but
does
hang on, but where do you see that applying to the college admissions essay? Like to end each paragraph that way? Or are we just talking about like the intro
like
paragraph?
in the intro paragraph, I think if you can start with like
I do too.
something
That's
that,
awesome.
you know, if you can start with something that's going to make somebody say, well, I need to watch the rest of this. I need to read the rest of this. I need to find out what this is all about. Like, this is
Yep.
fascinating.
I completely agree. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So, and how do you, so that's a great question. How do you've hooked them. We gave 3 techniques here. We've given examples and we've given things to look out for, right? So let's say the student does, and then it's like that very ending of the intro paragraph. How do you leave it with the way you end each one of your chapters, right? When you're writing, a work of fiction. I think that's fabulous. And I'll wrap it up and leave the viewers with 2 words that I think goes a long way for students in answering that question. And they've written out their paragraph, they've introduced the topic, they've caught the college's attention, but there's just that flat intro, right? And you parents are watching this, you're like, how can I help my student? It's 2 words. It's so what? And this was the day I learned so much about how I grew from this conflict. So what? And then you continue on, right? And how this has helped me in every single area of my life. And for every paragraph, you can apply that so what? Does it sound simple? Yes. Is it easy to do? No. And that's where someone like you or Total Writing comes in to help push that critical thinking and push those writing skills. Fabulous, Grace. Thank you to the moon and back for joining me again. I think it's one thing for parents and students to hear from, an old writing teacher or someone who's tutored over 1,000 students, but it's so valuable to hear your insight. So I hope you know how valuable that your perspective is and how many people you're helping. So thank you, Grace. We will do this again. Parents, if you're watching this now, please feel free to post a comment. We will answer it for you, please, or a question will answer it for you. Post a comment. Please feel free to message me if you or your child needs any further insight about our programs. And now is the time that parents are registering and signing up. We are here to help your kids get into their dream college through their writing. And the hidden benefit is a lot of college prep. So parents and students tell us every year. So thank you, Miss Grace, so much. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.